Welcome to the latest episode of Getting to Know Jew from the Kansas City Jewish Chronicle. I'm Lonnie Goldsmith, your host this week, and I'm very excited to talk with tech guru Jeremy Terman. Jeremy works for the company Lunchbox, which helps restaurants manage the digital experience for customers, and he's an owner of the KC Pioneers esports team. Jeremy Terman, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me.
Lonnie, pleasure. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday indeed, and happy Hanukkah to you and all our listeners today.
Yeah, fantastic. Yes, hope you had a good first night. I look forward to making latkes with my mom when she gets back to town.
Is that the best part of Hanukkah for you, the latkes?
Yeah, definitely. Homemade, everything's homemade.
It's got to be homemade, right? Like that's the best. Those are the best latkes, I think, personally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, and she's got a good family recipe, so I'm not good at it. Hopefully, my wife will cook those one days for our family, but not the cook.
Well, fair enough. All right. Well, let's get on to. I mean, there are very few more important things than latkes, and I could sit and talk latkes all day with you. But I'm really excited to talk with you because is tech guru too strong a term?
No, I mean, I would just say I'm a passionate entrepreneur that wants to, find great people, build great things, and help impact and change our community.
So you work in two really interesting areas. One is this massive up and coming industry, which is the world of esports. I feel like I'm just a smidge, I enjoy video games. I feel like I'm a smidge old for the esports phenomenon. Can you explain to the listeners what exactly that is?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm new to the esports world myself. I mean, I grew up playing Madden and FIFA and Call of Duty and maybe some NHL growing up, but never, ever aspired to be a pro gamer nor a pro athlete. I just knew I was never good enough for either of them. And so that's why I chose entrepreneurship. But yeah, so basically, I mean, if you think about it, you have high school sports, basketball, baseball, football, soccer. Well, now high schools are offering Rocket League and Valorant and League of Legends. And these are essentially the same thing as traditional sports, right? It's, instead of playing 5v5 on a basketball court, you're playing 5v5 online in a specific game. And so high schools have teams, colleges have scholarships. And it's take this sports industry and put it virtual. And that's esports.
Wait, college scholarships?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There are many colleges that offer full ride scholarships. We partner with the University of Missouri and the University of Kansas with the Kansas City Pioneers, offering internship opportunities and working with the schools. Yeah, there are esport programs at universities.
Wow. I mean, I know that's not a very nuanced response, but I mean, that's amazing that's a thing that's offered right now.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, right, like everything that goes into traditional sports, broadcasters, social media editors, the content that's being created, the training that goes into that, the attendance and the events themselves. We're heading to Raleigh, North Carolina here in about 3 weeks for the first Halo national tournament. And actually yesterday, our Halo team just got third out of 512 Halo teams across the entire US. And so we're beating some of the largest esport orgs, which for reference, the largest esport org is FaZe Clan. They just filed an IPO for $1 billion.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, so there's $1 billion esport franchises. And then I'd say some of the other top 10 are probably $250 to $400 million valuation orgs. So this space is massive. I think brands are starting to get into it. I mean, you see Ford and F1 doing stuff with Rocket League. You have Louis Vuitton doing a special trophy for League of Legends, special Gucci outfits. There are teams if you look more broadly at international scope, massive international brands, Nike, Coca-Cola, they're getting into esports and gaming because that's where the next generation of fans are going to live. They're not going to go to football games. They're going to go to these Halo, the Call of Duties, the Valorant, the Rocket Leagues, the League of Legends. These are the games that are getting hundreds of thousands of people, and if not hundreds of millions. I mean, League of Legends just had, I think it was 80 million people watching their championship.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So how long have the Kansas City Pioneers been around? When did you launch this operation?
Yeah, so I kind of came. I was like one of the final founders, kind of come in at the tail end to help with the fundraising and sponsorship standpoint. But LJ Brown, the senior at Blue Valley North here in Kansas City, he came to a marketing agency called Social Apex Media, and Social Apex Media is like a top end marketing agency with clients like Sporting Kansas City, our soccer team, Charlie Hustle, which is the clothing company that has the big heart on it, and so the marketing agency said, that's such a great idea. Instead of you being a client, let's work together. And so the two partners at Social Apex joined LJ, and then they brought me along. Call it, that was like September of 2019. I came on like February 2020, and that's where we really started to make moves because we fundraised capital to start acquiring teams.
So you came in and the team really got going right at the start of the pandemic.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, like most esport orgs had been like building their brands and getting sponsors and partners and building teams for these, like what they call LAN. A LAN event is basically like an in-person tournament. And so all these big orgs have started from like going to these LANs and building out these fan bases versus we completely started digital. Like no events, all online, solely streaming on Twitch. And then doing our socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, using social media to build and scale the brand. So it's been pretty crazy that this business flourished through COVID.
I would think, and correct me if I'm wrong, obviously the big in-person things can't happen, but I would think that esports, because of the fact that you can do it as well virtually as you could in person, be an opportunity to really thrive.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think the barriers to entry in the esport is finding talent, right? Just like any traditional sport. Like, how do you find the Patrick Mahomes? How do you find, any top player in any sport, right? You have to do recruiting. So we have an esports recruiting team that they're looking at tournaments. I mean, we signed a 13-year-old kid in Morocco to a 3-year deal. I mean, we are going global in looking for talent. Obviously, for North America, I think there's requirements of what cities you need to live in based on like getting ping and being able to be on the servers. So when you're playing virtually, that works. But yeah, I mean, like we've spent years recruiting teams, looking at players, going to tournaments virtually online and like watching gameplay. We have a mental health coach. We have not like a team therapist. It's like a team performance coach that talks to the players about mindset, about, teamwork. So much of performing in esports is the communication, just like it is with traditional sports.
God, it's fascinating. The level that this is at is amazing.
It's made it really blows my mind. I mean, again, I coming up on 2 years of really being in the space. But I was just blown away by the amount of effort and infrastructure that's already built. And so I think what we're about to see over the next like 3 to 5 years are really seeing society to start accepting esports. And I think it's the brands. I think it's the Fords, the Coca-Colas. Here in Kansas City, we have Jack Stack Barbecue, which is the big famous barbecue spot. They sponsored the Pioneers. You got Guy Snacks, which is a snack provider. You have them coming in. And so it takes the local communities and national brands to start supporting these esport organizations at a national level. And that's when you'll start to see consumers realize, wow, if my grocery store that sponsors all my local sports teams is now doing this esport work, and so is the bank, and so is this clothing store, it's like you get that comfortability that like, oh, wow, like this is legitimate, which it is. It's just, we're just waiting on society to kind of catch up with us.
So like, folks my age might not get it, but like, I mean, and my kids aren't that into video games either, but like their friends are like super into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are certain esports that are a lot easier to pick up than others. So like Rocket League is 3 cars that kick a ball. So it's literally soccer, but on a video game. And there's 3 cars that kick a ball. The ball can go off the ceiling. You score in a goal. Whoever scores the most goals wins the game in a 5-minute time frame. So like Rocket League is very easy. If you've never heard of any of the esports, you could look at that and realize, hey, that makes sense. So it's not as intimidating as it seems. And I think as cities continue, like the Kansas City Pioneers, as cities continue to build out franchises, someone living in Minneapolis, you actually have two esport franchises. You have Alpine. Well, it's now called Torrent, but Wisdom is like a marketing agency, and they built in with a group to build an esports franchise there. And then the owners of the Vikings, they partnered with Gary Vaynerchuk, and they have a team in Minneapolis. That's called the Minnesota Rockers in version 1. And so they're in the professional Call of Duty league. So as you get cities to identify city-based organizations like the Pittsburgh Knights, the Charlotte Phoenix, the Kansas City Pioneers, in certain leagues, you have to franchise. Minnesota Rocker being the Call of Duty team, it will continue to build fan bases.
That's absolutely phenomenal and wild and a little bit weird. Again, for somebody who's a little bit older, it's a very different sort of thing, but it's very cool though. And I'm like you, I grew up on, Madden and FIFA and NHL, and like those were my games growing up. So, and even now to a degree. So the other piece of tech, I suppose, I don't want to call it your day job, but maybe your other day job, I suppose, is working for the company Lunchbox.io, which again, given the pandemic times we're in, it seems to me that the work you're doing there, which I'll let you explain in a sec, has never been more important. So
yeah.
So explain a little bit about what it is you do there.
I kind of fell into the restaurant industry about 7 years ago, working for a startup called Pocket Points. We rewarded students for staying off their cell phones, built out a marketplace. You could earn points, get coupons, etc. So build and scale that business with, I was one of the first sales hires there and got to launch Minneapolis. I launched the U of M. I launched many different cities throughout the country, but that kind of got my foot in the door in the restaurant space. And so, I got super lucky because from Pocket Points, I went to DoorDash. And obviously, as we know, food delivery blew up. And so I spent 4 years launching markets and then running our national partnerships there. And so the CEO of Lunchbox reached out to me about, 6 months ago and was like, hey, man, like we're building a product that will help brands build their own channel just as strong as they have on DoorDash. And I was like, wow, like that's a pretty fascinating concept. And so I'm the director of enterprise sales at Lunchbox. It's the full-time gig. I have a team of seven sales reps that sell to the largest national restaurant brands in the country. And we're out there. The easiest way I explain what we do is, look at the Chipotle app, look at the Chick-fil-A and the Starbucks app. From an ordering experience to loyalty, that's what Lunchbox will build for a brand. We will build the website for ordering. We'll build out the mobile app. We have loyalty capabilities. So you can build a loyalty tiered-based system or a bank point-based system for our partners. So we're in hyper growth. We're about to close a round, so that will be exciting to share that news with the public. We're working hard on that. So. Many good things to come.
It seems like an obvious point, but the number of bad user experiences that I have had trying to order food, especially in the past almost 2 years of the pandemic, it boggles the mind that restaurants just, I don't know whether they don't get it or they're just not, they didn't have, the ability to do it because there was, something like Lunchbox to help them do that sort of thing. But like the user experience is key.
It's especially as again, COVID just accelerated consumer behavior, right? Like we know the world is going digital. Like, look, you have autonomous vehicles, you have, there's robots called iFlippy, and there's all these automation and robots being built to help scale infrastructure, right? So technology and the ease of ordering and getting something, whether it's groceries or food or clothing, it's all accelerated. It was all just accelerated via COVID. And so it's like the inevitable was that restaurant brands need to be digital. But I think the big problem is you don't go and build a restaurant to be a tech company. You build a restaurant to build an experience around food or around a setting. And so, yeah, it's tough for restaurants to figure out how they play in the digital world because like that's not what they built their brand to do.
Right. That's absolutely right. And it's a hard adjustment for the industry because, again, the restaurant industry, yeah, you could like take out from places, but I think we're also used to the experience of getting together with friends and family and sitting around a table and eating and drinking and laughing and having that in-person connection over good food.
Well, so let's just take that example, kind of just double click real quick. Like you can do that same thing with technology, right? So there's these new things that we do at Lunchbox where you order with a QR code. I mean, our restaurants partners are having so much trouble with labor. Okay, like what's a frictionless experience? Okay, you can still have someone that greets you and brings you your drinks and brings you your food, but like, why do they need to take your order? Like maybe you have questions about the food and you can ask that, but like if we have the ability for you to scan a QR code, place your order from your phone, pay on your phone, and it sends it to the kitchen and someone brings the food out when it's ready, like, why would you not want that? You can still have the ambiance and the experience, and someone can come help and answer questions for you. But it's like making things have less friction. It's like as any business problem that you're solving, right? How do you make something frictionless? How do you make it so easy for the consumer to enjoy the product, enjoy the experience, enjoy the food in this case? So yeah, it's pretty exciting seeing where this technology is headed.
So has your interest always lied in the technology or in the sort of customer service side of things? Because that's clearly this feels very customer servicey.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So when I went to the University of Missouri, really fortunate to intern at Verizon as like a freshman and was the retail sales rep, like helping you fix your phone and upgrade devices in college. And so that really gave me a glimpse into retail. And I think I've always just been fascinated by process. One of my famous mentors, we went to a coffee shop and he's like, Jeremy, why is it when you order from the barista that they then have to walk there to get the milk and then walk there to pour the espresso and then you sit down and like he challenged me, Kerry Phillips, he always challenged me to evaluate process. And so I think the reason why I found technology and why I loved it is seeing like Verizon had machine to machine technology or IoT Internet of Things. And this is like using the tech infrastructure to like make better decisions and help make life easier. Like, why would you not want to do that? And so I think process improvement plus technology plus I just love building. There's just something great about building something, seeing it, and then having it multiply. Is just really fascinating. And so, yeah, I just kind of fall into projects and companies just due to like innovation and change.
I mean, it's great products and it's great change, and it's change that, like you said, I think was accelerated by what we're all living through at the moment.
Yeah.
And it's great because you can be home in Kansas City managing your team that's probably, I would imagine, spread all over the country.
Literally Brooklyn, Vermont, Seattle, San Diego, Austin, Phoenix. Yeah. Like
if you had Florida, you would literally have corner to corner of the United States with you smack dab in the middle.
I know. I think we got to get someone in Minneapolis or Chicago, and then we need to get someone down in like Atlanta or somewhere down in the Southeast. But I mean, like we literally paint the entire country. So I mean, like the companies like Zoom, Slack, it's crazy how technology enables the speed of communication and just the ability to work asynchronously and still scale a business without, coming into an office and suiting up and commuting. It's like the whole business infrastructure of how businesses are built and scale. Same with Pioneers. Pioneers, 2 years. We got together as a leadership team the first time 2 weeks ago in 2 years. Everything was done on Discord calls, on Zoom calls, it's just crazy seeing how much can be built remote.
Which is outstanding. It's a little bit frightening in a way, but at the same time, it's great because it lets you nationalize easier without having to have the expense of travel and all of that. Let me ask you, because you have sort of this, both the tech and this customer service side, I'm curious, based on conversations I've had with friends lately, how do you think that, the use of technology can help Jewish communities and sort of the customer service side of how, the community, parts of the community does business?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, just like anything, just being present and sharing content in an accessible way is so important. I'll give an example. So for the high holidays, we still haven't been able to go back to temple, and so they did streaming on Vimeo and Facebook Live. And we did my mom and I did the Facebook Live portion of it, and I think it's just making access to content, whether live or pre-recorded or digital experiences, making that accessible is so important, right? We talked about the JCC, the Jewish Community Center. I grew up as a camp counselor or as a camper, and then junior camp counselor, and then senior camp counselor at the sports camp here in Kansas City. And so, obviously that was all in person and all like all done on site, right? So it's like, is there a way to build content to let kids engage online in some social capacity? Potentially, is there a way to do certain events live, have it streamed so people can participate? I think just helping those that maybe aren't able to get out, because I want the in-person. Like I love the in-person.
Absolutely.
I think just the accessibility to either live and or pre-recorded or some type of engaged content will just help further. Like imagine if like the Holocaust Museum was in the metaverse and you could like explore it through like virtual reality. Like, so you want to go like super, super deep. Like I went to DC as part of my temple, B'nai Yehuda, when I was like 12. And, it was a life-changing experience, like learning about the Holocaust at such a young age and like understanding the implications, like walking like through one of the train carts. It was just a very surreal experience. And so like, if you think about how do we help, we'll talk about the Holocaust, how do we help keep the Holocaust relevant so people understand what our people went through? It's like, you should be able to explore that digitally through the Oculuses or through virtual reality or augmented reality. There could be like education of Jewish history, of Jewish events through technology. So it's always lived on.
And given that the kids today who are going through that, the tweens and teens that are going through that, like that is very much their language and how they're going to learn. And I feel like Judaism maybe needs to adapt a little bit towards that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like any. I mean, you can just like everything, right? Like, I have friends that like they went to church for the first time online, right? And they'd always got every Sunday they're at church. You know what I mean? And so it's like every religion, every company has to go and become more digital. And so I think it's a matter of like figuring out what's the right way to help, stream the content, produce the content, have it accessible. And I think it will also take the older generations to like accept the technology, to understand that like they're the ones that have the knowledge of what events or what we do as a religion. So like we need to like convert that knowledge into technology, and there need to be tech savvy people, which I'm sure there are, that are coming into these organizations and say, let's just take what you're doing and let's like find a way to digitize it.
Excellent. All right. Last question for you. What is your favorite part of the Kansas City Jewish community and growing up in it?
Yeah, I mean, I think like my bar mitzvah like helped shape me, tikkun olam, right? Like healing the world, like that. Truly, I just remember doing my project for my bar mitzvah, and it really, when I went to Operation Breakthrough, which is this school for like kids that need places to go after school or their families below the poverty line, and I had a kid tug on my pants and was like, "Hey, Jeremy, like when are you coming back?" And it was like one of those things where it's like, how do you learn how to get involved in your community? And I think Judaism has been so great in teaching, treat others the way you want to be treated and like live your life by those, Jewish principles. And my bar mitzvah, with your mitzvah project, really, my mom and dad both like pushed me to really engage with that. So I always say that like one of the big turning points I had was going through the bar mitzvah, reading from the Torah and, practicing Judaism. And then the mitzvah project was really life-changing.
All right, I lied. I do have one more question off of that then. How have those lessons helped and informed you the way you work either in business or socially or, sort of just how you live your life day to day?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to like speak up, right? There's a very small Jewish population here in the U.S. and, there's an increase in hate crime. And, when I was at DoorDash, I was one of the few folks that helped build like the Jews at DoorDash. We weren't at ERG, we were more of a community group, but like helping educate our peers of like, we had an all company, like some division had an all company meeting on Yom Kippur. And we were outraged. We're like, why did this happen? And it was just ignorance, right? Like there was no malintention, but it's like, it's our responsibility that if we don't educate people on what Judaism is, what is Judaism, and like, why do these holidays? Like Hanukkah's not that important for us. In the reality, we give gifts on Hanukkah because we want to make people feel better. Again, my favorite moment of Hanukkah is not the gifts, it's the latkes.
That's right.
I think it's, as I become an adult and hopefully my wife and I, are able to have a family and have kids. And one of the big things is like, you have to stand up and, continue to voice and advocate for your Jewish community and, seek out each other and be supportive for each other and know that we are part of a very small community and we have to help each other as well as helping, everyone else. Just, tikkun olam. All goes back to tikkun olam.
Absolutely. Well, Jeremy Terman, thank you so much for coming to hang out with me for a little bit and talking, and best of luck with all of your initiatives going forward, and good luck and with the Pioneers at the upcoming tourney.
Awesome. Lonnie, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
The Getting to Know Jew podcast is a product of the Kansas City Jewish Chronicle and the Jewish Federation of Greater Kansas City. It is part of the Jewfolk Podcast Network and produced by Jewfolk Inc. Please rate, review, subscribe, and share. If you have suggestions for future guests, please email the show at webmaster@jewishkc.org.